and into employment. This is how we build confidence and instill a positive mindset so they can achieve bright futures for themselves, their families, and communities. Learn how you can join the journey and help end poverty for good at children.org today.
You need an at-work buddy.
Don't stop believing.
Somebody to play your favorite music while you grind away.
Every move you make.
Classic hits from the 70s, 80s, and 90s. Check out Rewind 1039.
What is love?
We play tons of music and never stop the music for more than 90 seconds. Classic hits at work, on the radio at Rewind 1039, or on the Rewind 1039 app.
You're stepping into the fast lane on the VTRN Sports app, 93.3 FM and 1320 AM Lynchburg, or by asking Alexa or Google Home, open VTRN Sports Lynchburg. Now, take the fast lane through the topics that matter across the Commonwealth. This is the Fast Lane with Ed Lane.
In the spirit of anybody who might be driving during Snowmageddon 26,
Time to take a detour in the fast lane.
because we might all be taking detours in some way, shape, form, hopefully our car intact during this inclement weather. If you're on one of the main roads in the greater Lynchburg area, and this is the report I've gathered from contacts in the Roanoke Valley and in areas around here, largely fine. But if you're on a side street, woo! TJ's on one. I'm on one. TJ is treacherous. An appropriate description for us to use to describe what it's like on side streets.
Yeah, very treacherous. Well, let's just say I got dropped off from work last night, and I had to walk back to my house a little bit to prevent my friend from getting stuck, and I fell and busted my butt.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of where we are right now. My car, it works. I've got a 4-wheel drive Tahoe. As most people know, I'm blessed to have an awesome car. It's good. It gets the job done, but our street's hardly plowed. And yesterday, someone came in and did like a one scrape, and then they stopped at the end of the street before you get onto the main road. So anybody who had cars, my neighbor's got a pickup truck. I've got the Tahoe, as I mentioned. Like, we're literally having to inch forward. Like, I have to reset my car. It has great 4-wheel drive. It's got a couple options, but I have to get the car moving to get it into 4-wheel drive. And that took a little work yesterday. Now it stays on 4-wheel drive as soon as it's in my drive. As soon as it gets to the street, it doesn't go all 4-wheel drive till I get out of the street. But I had to slow down. I'm going to incriminate myself for a second, but look both ways, make sure nobody was coming, and then punch out of there in kind of rolling stop, even though I don't advise that in normal conditions. This is not normal. And then just punch out of there and then reset so that I could get back to driving under normal road conditions. Like, be safe out there. Be smart. City schools, most of them in the area, they're off again tomorrow. I'd be shocked if we have school at all this week. And if you're in the county, heaven help you, because you think it's rough in the city, try the county where there are a lot of gravel roads, dirt roads. How are you going to plow that stuff? And the temperature today was like 37 at its peak, and it didn't get into the 37 range until like 3-4 o'clock in the afternoon. So it's only a couple hours. It's not like it was 37 degrees by 10 a.m. and we could start melting this stuff away. It took a while to get there, and it's not lasting very long, and we're not going to get that until this weekend. I love the idea, by the way, of remote learning for school. I know a lot of kids from less structured parental situations and family homes probably benefit more from the at-home environment, at the classroom environment. But our kids love to learn. We're blessed to have a mom and dad who both are there. And I understand not everybody's in that spot. For those that are not, kudos to you if you're doing the best you can as a student, or if you're doing the best as you can as a parent or guardian to make the most of your situation. Our kids love to learn. So we're able to stop there, work with them on some work, then do our own work. It's a lot, but God brings us to it. He'll bring us through it. We're here, but that's an update on where we are. We had no show yesterday in the fast lane. While we can navigate it, we're going to do our best to have one the rest of this week. I don't know about Friday because we are scheduled to have a church function for which I was going to be at, and then TJ was going to host, but as you just heard, TJ can't really drive a car right now, so good luck with all that. And then Trey Lyle doesn't have he's got a sedan, makes it challenging for him to get out, and then Ty is trapped over in Christiansburg, so good luck to him getting out of wherever, he and his significant other are. So good luck with all that. In the meantime,
After Ed's potentially unnecessary detour, let's get back on the road in the fast lane.
so you look at college basketball this past weekend, and I'll put Liberty in their own category. And we can get to that with John Manson from AseaofRed.com, 5:45 today here in the fast lane. But they have well-documented maturity with Porter, Cleveland, Matheny that is not easy to find and replicate anywhere in revenue-generating college athletics. So to which I specifically refer would be football and men's, and I guess to an extent women's basketball as well. Everywhere else, you can have continuity because there's just not huge financial payoffs that are everywhere else. But for those sports, football and men's basketball, it's hard. So Liberty's in a unique spot where Delaware was obviously the more hungry team, sub 500 Conference USA, but Liberty, with their maturity, the time got moved up to that game. It was going to be Saturday night over in our spot.
Go home to Bel Air.
And then it got moved up to be a 1 o'clock tip-off this past Saturday. And having already committed to go to Carolina, Virginia, that's where I was, thanks to Liberty University for their understanding. But I put Liberty in their own boat, first of all, TJ, because they looked like a team. It was clunky in terms of the game time setup. It's not the marquee opponent in Conference USA. Delaware is a sub 500 team overall in CUSA play. But Liberty jumped out to a lead. They did not fall victim to those lulls that we have seen where a double-digit lead evaporates. More on that in just a moment, by the way, because I got to see that again. I'm like a Slack channel basically for these teams. I feel like they're all slacking off. They get these leads and then they just back off the gas. But Liberty, to their credit, did not. That felt like a mature win. It was not the flashiest offensive performance, but
it was sloppy.
But when you're in a sloppy spot, weather's changed your routine and preparation. At some point, that's where you rely on the experience that Liberty was able to rely on and rely on the fact that they can put up points. They can push tempo. When they're all hitting, or even a collection of Porter, Matheny, and not Cleveland, although he can shoot the three, but Decker, then you can bail out. And Decker was on fire, and that was enough offensively for Liberty combined with their defense. That looked like a mature win. And the reason for bringing that up is, we'll get to Tech and Virginia in a moment, but you get this deep into conference play. You're facing teams that are sensing that level of desperation. You add into it the layer of crazy travel and the weather. For Liberty, that's where the mature win is. Yes, you want style points, but sometimes just buckle down and get the job done. They'll have to do it again. They go on the road Wednesday night at Middle Tennessee, but this is a start for Liberty. I was very impressed with the way in which they won that game on Saturday.
They've handled competition in Conference USA beautifully. Now that Kennesaw State's in that interesting predicament, you got to wonder how much of a threat Kennesaw State is. Western Kentucky, I feel like, was the only other threat, and Liberty handled them with ease.
Yeah, I mean, Western Kentucky, you mentioned, was a threat. Jacksonville State always with Ray Harper. I mean, he's a peculiar individual, we should say. But despite the fact that we would politely call him a peculiar individual, he doesn't do hardly any media availability. I think he kind of wants to manufacture an us against the world mentality.
Yeah.
Like that's just kind of his personality. He's kind of like Buzz Williams light, if you will.
Oh, man.
In spite of all that, Liberty is not fazed by that. And this will not always be the case. Now, I think McKay would like to have that continuity over a period of time, but it's not going to. Like, there are going to be years. Next year's probably an example. They're going to lose Porter, Cleveland, and Matheny. In all likelihood, all three of them are going to be gone. And then, again, I'm not trying to burst the bubble for Liberty fans, but I'd imagine somebody's going to come after Brent Decker, and it'd be really hard to
throw the checkbook.
Yeah, and it may even, in spite of that, be hard to keep him at Liberty, relatively speaking. Their culture is won out with keeping guys around. We mentioned the big three that stuck around. The fact that they got a Talon Peter and developed him. Like, there are things in Liberty's corner, but, it doesn't take, if we can figure it out, then certainly, power college programs in the Big East, SEC, Big 10, Big 12, and ACC, multiple somebodies, are probably scouting and looking at this as a potential, we've got to go after him. So just keep that in mind. But for Liberty, you look at that, and why it's also noteworthy is Virginia Tech and Virginia were in both were in interesting situations over the weekend. And again, it's worth noting that because Virginia Tech gets a bounce back opportunity tonight, VTR and Sports app against Georgia Tech. But they went on the road to Louisville, and it felt like an exhale kind of moment for Virginia Tech. They did not get blown out to the point where it was embarrassing. And they didn't blow a lead. It felt like the way we kind of described it on Friday, which is I would imagine Louisville was going to come out on fire. They did. Double-digit lead early. I'd imagine Virginia Tech is going to fight, but the Louisville is going to have a different level of desperation. And, we can get to last night at Duke because they got shellacked. Again, peculiar travel spot. Even with Michael Brown Jr. back, when Duke's on form like that, it's going to be hard for anybody to beat them. Maybe not by that margin, but for Virginia Tech, they were in that spot where if you're Louisville, you struggled during the month of January. You knew Duke was on the horizon. You knew you might have to adjust your travel plans, and apparently Louisville did. That was it really felt like, I know it's January, so the term must win is a stretch, but it felt like an urgent spot for Louisville, whereas for Virginia Tech, their urgency was crawling out of that hole in ACC play, getting to 4-3, and even if you have to get back to 4-4 against Louisville, you've exhaled enough to where you can hit the reset button. For Virginia Tech, the urgency just never felt like it was going to be there in that game, and it kind of bore itself out. And now tonight against Georgia Tech, can they have that level of urgency that they should against a team, by and large, they're just better than the Yellow Jackets?
They just need to win the games they're supposed to win. And respect to Stoudemire, love him and everything, but Georgia Tech is the kind of game that it's a win for teams like BT and UVA. Should be.
It should be. And is this a fair comment for tonight or a reasonable one? It should feel more like the Notre Dame game, a week and a half ago, whenever that was in Blacksburg, where Tech won by 13, but they raced that kind of like the Louisville game felt for on the other end for Tech. The opposing team races out to an early lead, and it may not be a blowout, but they're in control the entire time.
Yeah.
Virginia Tech should do to Georgia Tech what just got done to them against Louisville. Yeah. You don't have to win by 20, although it would be great if you do, if you're a Tech fan, but you need to have a comfortable enough win where it never feels like you're threatened and in doubt, particularly late in the game.
I would agree, and I think UVA is going to be in that same boat tonight in South Bend.
Yeah, I would say so too. I mean, Virginia's in that spot because they're in an easy portion of their basketball schedule. They just came off the game against North Carolina. Again, the theme we mentioned, the more desperate team. Carolina, the weekend before, had gone out west to Stanford and Cal and got blown out in both of those games. They really didn't have a marquee road victory. And they went to a Virginia team that was riding high, had won at Louisville and SMU. I know there's the long week of prep. That's understandable. I could rankle the feathers of Virginia fans. And their defense was lacking against North Carolina, particularly in the second half. I don't know if there's a stat to quantify it, but Carolina did a good job of pressuring the ball and then just going literally right down the middle of the court, straight to the basket to convert for easy point opportunities. And they shared the ball very well. Carolina did.
Yeah.
They converted turnovers into points because of the fast break. Yeah. And Virginia likes to run and gun. And again, this is, having been in Charlottesville, Virginia played hard. I'm not saying they played with no effort.
Absolutely.
But it felt like North Carolina, and watching North Carolina, there was a little extra sense of urgency that it's hard to have every night, especially when you're Virginia as a team that had not lost since the triple overtime game against Virginia Tech. And entering that game had won 5 in a row, including some pretty impressive road wins like Louisville and SMU in their prior 2 games.
UVA had a sense of panic, and Carolina took advantage of them, and they out-rebounded them to where it was hard for UVA to be able to get those second-chance shots that they have relied on in the last couple of games that Ryan Odom even pointed out. They couldn't win the rebound.
Yeah, I mean, they really couldn't. And remember, looking at Virginia's schedule, they miss Clemson this year. They only have Carolina once. I know it'll upset Virginia fans. They lost at JPJ to the Heels. They only get Duke once on the schedule this year. So they miss all those. But for a moment, you mentioned Virginia should win comfortably at Notre Dame, and they've been a really good road team, as we just highlighted. But after that, it's at Boston College this Saturday. That is going to be the ultimate bring your energy spot, because if there's ever an unenergetic venue in college basketball, it's Conti Forum at Boston College. Like, it is a venue. When you say BC, no one thinks historic rivalry. When you say Boston College, outside of the Jarrett Dudley era, there's really not much where you go, oh, there's a lot of history and tradition at BC. Then you've got Pitt at home. Jeff Capel, people may love him, but it feels like he's on his last legs at Pitt. Syracuse, things go south. Their coach is on the hot seat. At Florida State, before that non-conference game against Ohio State. And we can get to the schedule after that. It does get a little bit more challenging in the back half, but just look at the next 5 games for Virginia. They could easily not only win all 5 of them, but you can make an argument they could win all 5 of them relatively comfortably. And so the loss to North Carolina, not that you want to schedule a loss, and if you're a Virginia fan and you're saying, hey, would you rather have lost at Louisville, at SMU, or Carolina? I think you'd rather have lost either at Louisville or SMU from the points of pride with Carolina being a big rival for Virginia.
Yeah.
But the timing of the loss may be a good thing for Virginia, because it adds that level of urgency and hunger, knowing they're going up against some weak teams in the ACC. But when they play a good team, if they're not on point, they just have that reminder that they can get punked, as North Carolina. Punked is probably a strong word. Let's backtrack off that. They can get beat if they don't play their fully engaged game.
And they're at a point where right now they've beaten a lot of good ACC teams. And with that easy schedule, you could see them go on a 5-0 stretch, 4-1. You're still at the top of the conference, too.
Yeah.
Because of that.
Exactly. And they're in a spot where they are there. Again, I don't know if they'll beat Duke. They only get them once. It's on the road in Durham.
Cameron.
It's at Cameron, and Duke is a better team right now. Virginia, talking about this with Andrew Jones of Tar Illustrated on Friday, and then he and I spoke together at the game. Virginia is solid in every area. But I don't know if they've had a player that has established himself as the, I'll take over a game type player. DeRidder can be. Jakari White's had the injuries, but may have been before, if you want to call him that. But nobody's been on the Cameron Boozer level, or even, for North Carolina with Caleb Wilson, the way he took over and helped. Wasn't all just scoring, but the way he could take over. Virginia doesn't have that type of player that has asserted himself. I think there's enough talent from the two that we mentioned that either DeRidder or White might become that guy. Yeah. But the fact that the way we're saying it indicates there's not a lot of confidence, and it kind of gives it away. And it's the one thing that Virginia is lacking, and they may not need it over the stretch, but that's the type of thing I'd want to see if I believe they can be. I think they can win a couple of tournament games and maybe make the second week. But if they could be a second week in team, in other words, they make the Elite Eight, they're hanging in there, maybe they have a chance to crash the Final Four. I don't put it past them, but that's the thing that it looks like they're lagging, that at some point they're going to have to find, or else when you get deeper in the tournament, if not the Sweet 16, certainly in Elite Eight, you're going to be going up against teams that do have that type of player. At that point, the road often ends.
Who's the transfer player they have? Is it Malik? I don't
Malik
know
Thomas.
Do you think he can become that player? I mean, he shows signs, but he doesn't look like he wants to.
I think it's a great point, TJ, because there are times where he looks like he's ready to go. And then there are times where it looks like he's more of a passive player.
Yeah.
And it's not terrible to have that, but it looks like from the naked eye that's the thing that's lacking the most from Virginia. And that's the type of thing this week that I'd like to see starting getting corrected. If I'm a Virginia fan at Notre Dame, is, have those guys. And frankly, just win the games relatively comfortably. Don't be screwing around against these bottom feeders. I know Miami's at home, Tony Bennett dedication day. I'm sure JPJ will be jazzed up in 3-4 weeks when that game gets played in mid-February.
Well, Miami's not a groundhog team. They've really stepped it up under Jai Lucas.
Yeah, I mean, they have, and he's had a better than, again, to get my usher on for a second in the fast lane, they've had a better than expected first year with him.
Yeah.
But if I'm Virginia, that's what I'd like to see from them in the next stretch, because then you get a lot of games where their teams Virginia should beat, but it's going to go from being like the walk in the parks you expect at Notre Dame, BC, Syracuse at home, Pitt. Like, it'll go from that to much more challenging against Duke's the obvious one, but even Miami and Virginia Tech and Wake Forest, teams that at that point maybe tournament-ish teams, but really you're going to be looking for that signature win, and you're going to get a different level of intensity against that type of team. Meanwhile, does Jerry Ratcliffe agree? When we return in the fast lane, we will get his thoughts on that NFL Coaching Carousel, it can wait another day because we have your teams and topics covered in Covering the Commonwealth. When we return, we'll touch on the JMU Dukes, the Virginia Tech Hokies, and the Washington Commanders. Another coaching hire. Did they make the right one, particularly at defensive coordinator? Seawall weighs in next as well here in the Fast Lane on the VTR and Sports app, and Ask That Smart Speaker. Open VTR and Sports.
Get more on the Sheeler Motor Mile, your trusted dealer serving Southwest Virginia and surrounding areas for over 50 years. With more selection, more value, and more finance options. Plus, your trade is worth more. Shop local and save more with straightforward pricing, plus exceptional service and selection. Your search ends at the Motor Mile. Choose from over 900 quality pre-owned vehicles, plus a massive selection of new car brands in Southwest Virginia. Honda, Hyundai, Toyota, Subaru, Kia, Chevrolet, Mitsubishi, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, plus the used car superstore. 11 new car brands, 900 used vehicles at one location. Volume selling means volume pricing, and we've got more than any other dealer in the area. The Sheeler Motor Mile delivers choices. Here's the difference. Sheeler owns the finance company and makes getting approved for credit simple and easy on the Motor Mile. Flexible financing options for every budget to get you on the road fast. Get more on the Sheeler Motor Mile with a certified friendly staff and no games, no gimmicks. I-81 exit 118C in Christiansburg. Call 866-SHEELER1. Always open at Sheeler.com.
Is it time for a new place to call home? Moving out on your own? Perhaps your existing lease is up for renewal. Looking for a new roommate? Or maybe you just need a change of scenery. Then you need to check out brownstoneproperties.com. We have Central Virginia's largest selection of apartments, townhomes, and single-family homes. Applying is easy with our online application. Visit us online to begin your search at brownstoneproperties.com.
Your home is more than just walls and windows. It's where life happens. And at Right Choice Construction, we get that. We're not just builders. We're fathers, mothers, neighbors, just like you. And every nail and every beam reflects our commitment to creating a place you're proud to live in. With Right Choice Construction, you're choosing a team that's been perfecting the art of building for years. So build with us, build with experience, build with quality. Build with Right Choice.
Did you know you might be part of the 75% of Americans who think they waste less food than they actually do? Americans toss out more than $382 billion worth of food, costing an average family of four nearly $3,000 annually, and costing our planet even more in wasted resources. But did you also know nearly half of all food waste occurs at the household level? Which means there's a lot we can do to reduce all this waste, to help your wallet and the planet. Eating leftovers is great, but things like freezing food that you can't eat right away, donating surplus food within your community, and better understanding food date labels can have an even bigger impact. To learn more, visit World Wildlife Fund at wwf.earth/food waste and spread the word that food should never be trash.
VTRN Sports, your companion at work, at home, and in your car. VTRN Sports. Download our app and take us everywhere.
Step into the Fast Lane 24/7 at Trey Lyle VT and Fast Lane Ed Lane on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and wherever you listen to podcasts. Now, back to the Fast Lane.
Scar tissue. Just when you thought the JMU Dukes had gotten rid of it, they bring it back. So we have to bring it up right now in
It's time for your teams and topics. Covering the Commonwealth. A look at teams and topics from around the Commonwealth. Let's start with the JMU Dukes.
Shane Metlin, DNRonline.com, and it's Shane_DNR Sports with us here in the Fast Lane. Shane, great to be speaking with you. First of all, have you and your family survived Snowmageddon 26?
Yeah, so far we're doing okay. Thanks.
Wonderful. Glad to hear that. You have enough power that you're at least able to charge your phone up and join us, which is a good thing. Meanwhile, enough power when it matters for JMU women's basketball. It seems like it's there every time except when they play Arkansas State. Is that becoming their boogeyman for JMU women's basketball after blowing another lead? Granted, not as painful as the Sun Belt Tournament Championship game last year.
You're going to wonder. It'll be interesting to see. It's different too because that's a West Division team, so they're only going to face them once in the regular season. They've had some of these opponents that give them trouble in the past, but usually, you get them the second time around. They come to Harrisonburg, and things are a little different. They've been really good in quote unquote revenge games this season, but yeah, they didn't do it down in Arkansas. They had some factors involved in that. That game was delayed a day. They didn't know when they were going to be able to go home because of all the weather, and their travel plans were completely thrown up. But the fact that it played out almost exactly like the Sun Belt Championship game last year, you got to wonder how that's going to impact them mentally going forward if these two teams do end up meeting again in the postseason.
What steps do they take now to try to make sure that you're aware of it? You can't just blindly, you got to figure out why you're blowing these leads, but that it doesn't become such a mental thing that it spirals the rest of the season as well.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I've seen the theory that, Arkansas State, they will do wholesale substitutions. They routinely sub 5 in, 5 out and play everybody about 20 minutes a game, even their best players. And that, so I've seen the theory that JMU just isn't fresh in the second half compared. They don't have the stamina to keep up with it. That may be a factor. I don't know that that's 100% the case. Normally they're a very good second half team. They don't go deep, but they have some, players I think are in good condition. And like I said, they're usually very good in the second half. So I'm not sure I totally buy that. I mean, it may factor into it somehow, but I do wonder if it's just another case of like seeing the lead start to go away. There just seemed to be a little bit of a sense of panic at times in that game on Sunday.
Yeah, that's a good way to describe it for the JMU Lady Dukes is the level of panic they've had. Meanwhile, the urgency was there for the men's team against Texas State. Was it a one-off or is it a building block?
That's the question. And I mean, there have been a couple times this year where it seemed like, okay, now they're kind of getting it together and things are going to improve because there is talent on that roster, but each time out they win a big game, they turn around and don't play very well the next time out. They've got Troy coming up on Thursday. It's the best team in the conference to go play them on the road. So, even if they play well in that game, they may end up losing. And then you wonder how they kind of respond to that.
Yeah, you do. It's a fair question. It's one where you go, I'm not really sure exactly what you're going to get. And that's the $1 million question that they have to prove for the rest of the season. Meanwhile, JMU football, they finally announced that Cam Aiken is filling the offensive coordinator role, and Robert Bala will take over as defensive coordinator. Robert Wagner is special teams coordinator, for those that are wondering as well. How long did they actually know about these before they released that information to the public, given that I would think you'd want to have this when you're pitching players to come into the portal?
Yeah, quite a while. I think Matt Rohn even said in another interview fairly recently that probably about the week that he was hired, he told Rohn that, he thought he had his coordinators in place. A lot of these had kind of broken here recently too in the past few weeks. JMU typically kind of does this. They announce their hires, especially with the full football staff. They maybe they'll announce them all at the same time, or they wait until like every I's dotted on the contracts before they come out and announce it. But yeah, these are hires that have been known for quite a while.
Yeah, everybody seems to have. Now we've got the answer, and there it is, as Shane Metlin brings us those answers here in the Fast Lane. Shane, great to be speaking with you. It's great to hear that you and your family have survived Snowmageddon, and now comes the real challenge of dealing with schools being out and side roads being a mess.
Yep, that's a challenge. Thanks.
Indeed. Shane Metlin with us here in the Fast Lane.
Now to the Virginia Cavaliers.
Jerry Ratcliffe of JerryRatcliffe.com with us here in the Fast Lane. Jerry, it looked like Virginia was playing themselves into being considered one of the top teams and maybe right at the top in the ACC when they were up by 16 late in the first half against North Carolina. And then it all came undone. 85-80 loss. Is it catastrophic or is it more disappointing because Virginia got knocked down maybe a peg with that performance to the heels?
I think it was just disappointing, Ed. North Carolina's not a great team, but they're not a bad team. They've got some outstanding players, athletes. And I think it was just another lesson along the path for this Virginia team that I think will continue to improve throughout the season. I think it was a valuable lesson for them about not letting up when you got your foot on the neck of an opponent and just kind of letting them off the hook. And then Virginia just did not come out aggressive in the second half after they controlled the first 18 minutes of the first half. Carolina did a good job. Hubert Davis did a good job of inspiring his team at halftime and challenged them to match Virginia's physicality in the second half. They came out and did so, and Virginia apparently felt like that they had it in the bag, and by the time they realized they didn't, it was too late.
Yes, it was. Virginia finally figured it out, but Carolina ultimately seized the 85-80 victory over the Hoos. From Virginia's perspective, and this was the comment we made as well earlier, is it that Virginia, I wouldn't say they weren't playing hard, but did you sense a different level of urgency for North Carolina, given that they had really struggled losing those games at Cal and Stanford the weekish before, whereas Virginia, you're riding a winning streak, you're getting ready for another slate where you probably should have another winning streak, and this was the natural spot where it's hard to maintain that high level against a team where the urgency was a little higher.
Yeah, I believe that's correct. Virginia was unbeaten at home. They felt pretty good about themselves. They were on a nice streak. Carolina had lost 3 out of 4 on road trips, and I think Virginia probably felt like that they wouldn't have as hard a time dealing with Carolina as they ended up having. But they just let down on some of their principles. Their transition defense was pretty shoddy in the second half. Their 3-point defense was not that great, and they're leading in that in the ACC, and they just allowed some of their defensive principles just to break down and didn't communicate. And I think that's probably going to be a big point of emphasis going into tonight's game at Notre Dame.
Is the biggest challenge for Virginia over this next stretch, particularly tonight at Notre Dame and especially Saturday at Boston College, going to be bringing their own level of energy against teams that are near the bottom of the ACC and in environments this week at least where, how do I say this? It's kind of library-ish.
Yeah, especially at BC. Games there, sometimes not many people show up. And the last time I was at BC, there were more Virginia fans from the Boston area there than there were BC fans. So I don't know what it's like at Notre Dame now, but probably not much better. But yeah, I think you're right. They're going to have to bring their own energy and refocus on winning these 2 games this week, which they should be. I know they're a 10-point favorite tonight, probably similar or more at BC, and they're going to have to rely on themselves to create their own energy because there's not going to be much in those 2 arenas. They need to refocus because they've got a lot of winnable games coming up, and they can't afford to blow another game, particularly against an opponent like Notre Dame or BC, which would go over in the red column, which is not conducive to helping your NCAA seedings and things of that nature. So they've got to get back to business and can't take anything for granted going into South Bend.
Jerry Ratcliffe with us here in the Fast Lane. Jerry, great to be speaking with you. Last one for you. The football schedule was released last night. We knew about the opener in Rio. There will be a bye week and then Norfolk State after that. Oddly enough, 2 neutral site games, the other being West Virginia in the mid to latter part of September for the Hoos. What stood out to you about the structure of this schedule now that we have an idea of not just the structure of it, but also the players that will be asked to execute that schedule?
Just the fact that they're playing 2 neutral site games, that's never happened as far as I know in Virginia history. And I'm not quite sure why it is now. But, I understand the Brazil game. It's all about money. I assume the game in Charlotte against West Virginia is all about money as well. But, you're giving up at least 1 home game for that. And even though money's on the line, but it seems like to me that if you've got some momentum going with your program, you would want to try to get as many home games in as possible, particularly against teams that are pretty much viewed on the same level as your own. So I was just kind of surprised they would agree to play 2 neutral site games in a season.
Yeah, that's the real interesting part. They've got 6 home games, so they're not totally hurt by that, but you're missing the chance to add extra revenue, and that does change the equation. The equation is easy. JerryRatcliffe.com is how you get the answer to it, with Jerry Ratcliffe joining us here in the Fast Lane for your Virginia Cavalier coverage and insight. Hootie, great to be speaking with you. Thank you very much for your time. We appreciate it.
All right, and stay warm.
Indeed, we will do our very best. Meanwhile,
now to just for you haters, left hand up the Commanders.
The Washington Commanders, they have finally found their new defensive coordinator, and it wasn't exactly the spot where most people anticipated it coming from, as they go to the Minnesota Vikings. And no, not Brian Flores, but instead one of Flores's former disciples, as Durante Jones, I believe I'm pronouncing that right, is their new defensive coordinator. He's the former defensive passing game coordinator and D-backs coach under Flores in Minnesota. Candy Waller has her finger on the pulse for Bowie TV Sports and is with us here in the Fast Lane. Madam President, first of all, we pray you and your family are safe and well during Snowmageddon.
Yes, we are. The roads are still a bit, wonky, of course, and we're hoping the same for you all.
Yes, so far so good, but prayers every day that when we get out on the roads, we're safe and things go the way that we would expect them to. Durante Jones. First of all, am I pronouncing as a Durant or Durante?
Yeah, right. We'll find out soon, but it is Durante, I believe.
Awesome. Glad to hear that. So you answered that question for us. What was your reaction when you saw the news come out in the last 24 or so hours that he was going to be the new defensive coordinator after all the other vetting they did?
Oh, yeah. I mean, official reactions are first and foremost, he is from Prince George's County, Maryland. So he understands how important this team is to this area and to this fan base, and how their success means a lot. It truly means a lot. So he understands that. Born and raised. Did you all got me?
Yep, we got you.
Okay, making sure. Sorry about that. And so he just all things, DMV. And having worked under Brian Flores for the last few seasons, he's also worked under Vance Joseph, Mike Zimmer. You would have to wonder and think that if the team wasn't able to get Brian Flores, right, then you get his understudy. You get someone who gets and exactly how these NFL offenses evolve in such a way that they're so hard to defend. So this is an exciting time, I think, for the team and for the area.
What does it say about Dan Quinn that he's going outside of his proverbial coaching tree with a guy who comes from a different coaching tree, the Flores, Zimmer, Joseph, as opposed to the Dan Quinn tree?
I mean, I think it just goes to show that sometimes, hey, you have to learn. You have to learn, and you have to reflect, and you have to evolve. And you always like to rely on who we know, and that's fantastic. I'm sure that Dan Quinn leaned on people that he knows to help to make decisions. But I also think that sometimes not, who's the best person for the job? Who is the best person for the job? And sometimes that may not be someone right, directly connected to you. And I think that's what we've seen here with him making the decisions he's made on offensive coordinator as well as defensive coordinator now.
Washington Commanders, Durante Jones, new defensive coordinator. He is the hire, comes from the Joseph Zimmer tree. Does this put added pressure, if that's possible, on Dan Quinn that he goes with a guy outside of his area of expertise and a first-time coordinator?
Well, I don't know if it makes more pressure on him or it gives more grace, because now he has two new coordinators in calling plays for the NFL. And I think that is a very important point. We've already heard actually from Vikings fans that, hey, in year 2, you will see a difference in this defense. So I'm like, okay, Commanders fans, that means you got to show a little grace in year 1 of Coach Jones here, but year 2, bump up those expectations. So we'll see what happens. But hey, I think it might be a tight year because it still means that it's year 3 for Dan Quinn, not necessarily year 1 for him. But we'll see how this shakes out in terms of whether or not the stakes are still very high and a very low margin for error, or if he gets a little bit more time since he's dealing with 2 new play callers.
Candy Baller, Madam President from Bowie TV Sports, with us here in the Fast Lane discussing the Washington Commanders. They have a new defensive coordinator, Durante Jones. She'll have the latest on that and everybody else as they start meeting with the media and we start getting more of an idea of their game plan heading into the offseason. Seawald, thank you for your time today in the Fast Lane. We greatly appreciate it and look forward to speaking again soon with Shrine Bowl, Senior Bowl, and all the offseason activities starting to come in.
Absolutely. Thank you guys so much. And I'll be talking to you again soon.
It's our pleasure. Candy Baller with us here in the Fast Lane. When we return, a deeper dive into the Liberty Flames. Just something interesting that I've noticed about the Liberty Flames and how great they've been, but how the stats and the contributions have varied game to game. Does not just John Madden. I don't know. I don't know. Could Miss Cleo do this?
Don't go blindly through life. Call me now for your free reading.
Or somebody. Because John Manson, not John Madden, does John Manson agree with me on this unique observation about the Liberty Flames? That when we return here in the Fast Lane on the VTRN Sports app and ask that smart speaker open VTRN Sports.
Mark Dalton here with Terry Volkswagen. Get ready to fall head over heels for the perfect VW SUV. One size doesn't fit all, though, and that's why Volkswagen has an SUV for everyone. From the compact and affordable Volkswagen Taos to the tech-packed Tiguan and the spacious Volkswagen Atlas. No matter which one fits your lifestyle, you'll love the comfort, performance, and safety. Stop by Terry Volkswagen on Forest Road in Lynchburg or check us out online at terryvw.com. Terry Volkswagen. You'll love our cars.
A winning sports team doesn't use the same game plan for every opponent. The same is true for your personal injury case. Hi, I'm Randy Trost with Trost Law. Since 1982, our strategy starts with a team meeting between you and our team. We'll learn about your case and craft a custom game plan. Then we'll fight for you every step of the way to get a winning outcome. We hope you never need our services, but if you do, we're one phone call away at 777-HURT or trostlaw.com.
A cool food concept sparks curiosity. What about 2 concepts at one restaurant? That's even better. Oliver's on Rivermont is Lynchburg's first multi-concept restaurant. Pick items from the traditional Oliver's menu, the 801 Raw Bar menu, or mix and match. And you'll appreciate the consistency of Oliver's new kitchen and serving staff. 2 cool concepts in one. Only available at Oliver's on Rivermont.
Hey, small to medium business owners, if you're frustrated with slow IT support, high costs, or paying for services you just don't use, it's time for a change. Hi, I'm Colt with We Fix Stupid Computers. We provide reliable on-site and remote support tailored for businesses just like yours. And we go beyond just fixing problems. We empower your staff with real tech knowledge so they can work smarter every day. From repairs to training to full IT support, we save you time, stress, and money. Call We Fix Stupid Computers, 434-525-8590, where smart support meets real savings.
New year can mean new changes in your life. But you know what will never change? The great deals that you get on InsaneRadioDeals.com. And we don't just feed your taste buds, but we feed your adventurous side, your hobbies, your interests, with great rates on Rise Up Climbing Passes, Aquatrek Adventures, and Cross White Athletics Club. Or if you're a sports nerd like me, we got gift certificates for a SeaOfRed.com and BNC Sports located at River Ridge Mall. All this and more at InsaneRadioDeals.com.
It's not that the Virginia Tech Hokies or the Virginia Cavaliers played horrible this past weekend, but they found out something that we get to relay on this TrostLaw.com Fast Take, that hungry dogs run a little faster. At Louisville, Virginia Tech went to a Cardinals team in dire need of an ACC win, whereas Virginia Tech had played well enough to exhale for a split second. Meanwhile, Virginia hosted a North Carolina team in desperate need of a win, and the Heels erased their own 16-point first-half deficit, showing that the hungrier teams ran a little faster.
Step into the Fast Lane 24/7 at Trey Lyle VT and Fast Lane Ed Lane on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and wherever you listen to podcasts. Now, back to the Fast Lane.
Few things beat confirmation bias, but we'll get to that in just a little bit here in the Fast Lane as we appreciate you hanging out with us on this Tuesday, dealing with our random schedule because of the inclement weather. We're all patching it together and doing the best that I guess you could reasonably say we could. And we wish everybody safety out there on these roads. And a big thanks to those that are out for this job, for their jobs, and need to be out in particular when it gets really cold at night, or, in those restorative hours for power and electricity and those type of things. Meanwhile, John Manson, seaofred.com founder, contributor, and reporter, steps into the fast lane. John, great to be speaking with you. Appreciate your time as always. We will get to basketball action in just a second. But first of all, Aaron Fireball leaving Liberty, heading to App State. Yet another change. Maybe by default now, the defensive staff looks like it's going to have a pretty big overhaul to it from last year to this year. You're on the small level assessment of the departure of Fireball to Appalachian State, and now Liberty has yet another vacancy they must fill.
Hey, good to talk to you. Glad you guys were able to get on the air today. I've been outside trying to dig out from this ice Mageddon we've had. It's something else. But yeah, I like to have some fire around here, right? But yeah, Aaron Fireball going to App State. It just kind of, it's one of those things that, you're not shocked. We've talked about it before, but how, Coach Chadwell and the Flames have had the exact same coaching staff 3 straight years, his first 3 years at Liberty. And, we said it before, but, it's good just to have some change up, some new information, new thoughts, fresh perspectives, fresh ideas, fresh energy, fresh blood into the room. So this continues to change the look of that staff. And you got several either openings, vacancies, or newly either promoted or hired coaches now to the Liberty staff. So you'll have about less than 50%, probably around 30 to 40% total of the on-field coaching staff being brand new, whether they've been promoted within or hired from outside. So not just the Liberty football team players, but also the coaching staff will have a lot of new faces and new ideas. And, it can't be a bad thing, right? I mean, Liberty coming off that 4-8 season, the worst season the program's had, going back to 2005 when the Flames were 1-10, obviously back at the FCS level. That led to the firing of Ken Karcher and new athletic director and all that. And, so Coach Chadwell and under the direction of Ian McCall, I'm sure as well too, are making a lot of changes, wholesale changes, and ultimately we'll see how those changes result in the win-loss column this fall. But for now, we can just speculate.
Yeah, we can. We'll see what happens for Liberty. You get these type of changes. Aaron Fireball leaving. It's reported a little bit later in the process, as far as deeper into the transfer portal, and also after the high school signing day that took place over a month ago. Is that detrimental to Liberty, or is this the type of thing where if you're Jamie Chadwell, and we've seen it at other schools, you have an idea these things are going to transpire, and therefore it becomes easier to present that to prospective players?
Yeah, I mean, and again, this is just when it's been reported publicly. We had heard rumblings, inklings of Coach Fireball potentially leaving prior to the transfer portal, and sometimes you never know when that news is going to trickle out and become official. So I'm sure, obviously not being part of those conversations, that the coaching staff that's held holdovers with those prospective student athletes, the transfers, and even high school prospects, if you go back that far. I don't know, but I would assume Liberty was pretty upfront and honest with them about, who which coaches might be staying on and which ones might be leaving. And also it's really a unique time for Liberty right now. I mean, Coach Chadwell, after his surgery he had a couple weeks back, I mean, he's been away from the team and the staff, I'm sure, checking in frequently through phone calls and text messages and emails and all that sort of stuff. But the day-to-day has certainly been different, and he hasn't been in the office, to kind of oversee a lot of this roster overhaul, at least in person. I'm sure, like I said, he's been keeping the pulse on it, as close as possible, and staying abreast of all the changes, and I'm sure communicating with a lot of these players as well too. So once Coach Chadwell is back in the driver's seat and back on campus and in the Liberty Football Center and available for media availability. It'll be interesting to see what this last month or several weeks has looked like, not just from the coaching staff changes, but also from him, how he was able to manage the team and his staff and this roster overhaul and all the like that we were talking about, despite not being there physically in the office.
Yeah, I mean that's some of the big things for Jamie Chadwell with the Liberty Flames and where things are with them. The other thing that also is worth bringing up is how much of this time of year, when you're not in spring practice in the spring ball, is it less about the coaching staff being around and more about when you have your support staff, your nutrition, your strength and conditioning, that this is the time of year where those are the staffers that you need to have in place and where the direction has to be firm.
Oh yeah, you're exactly right. I mean, a lot of these coaching on-field position coaches, they're out right now and have been much of the last week or so doing high school recruiting for the class of 2027 and maybe shoring up some loose ends, if you will, for the class of 2026, but mainly 2027. So, doing a lot of recruiting. So it has been the strength staff, the nutrition staff, the recruiting staff, the recruiting department running a lot of this stuff. But yeah, I mean, no spring practice. So, the Flames been out there doing some, conditioning and off-season workout program has begun. So that's when the team kind of forms their bond initially for the new season. And, one good thing that the NCAA has gotten right, I think, is at least there's only this one transfer portal window. Like the team that you have now as classes have gotten started, like this is the team you're going to have throughout the duration of the 2026 season. So you can go ahead and start to build that team camaraderie and culture and, personality and, carry that through all the way through spring practice and then into summer workouts and training camp and on into the season.
Yeah, and to piggyback off that point with John Manson from AseaofRed.com here in the Fast Lane, a lot of people may not know him, but how much of this time of year, and this is why, as much as we mentioned coaching staff and staff in general change is a necessary thing for Liberty, this is where you're Jamie Chadwell. You can make the time right now to get your health back into a priority spot when you've got a guy like Chad Scott, who's been around for a period of time, is in charge of the speed, strength, and conditioning, and therefore he can relay and work with the nutrition staff to really work on not only the players that are back and what they need to do to improve, but assessing the guys you brought in and allowing these people to be the ones that get them ready to where maybe they're not what you would expect them to be come late July and August for fall development, but certainly now when you're trying to get a beat on spring.
Yeah, you're exactly right. The head strength and conditioning coach is, maybe the most important staff individual on the on a FBS football coaching staff nowadays. And a lot of times that's why you see those guys following the head coach around and being one of the first staff members hired for new coaches and things. And it's not like the old days where, strength and conditioning coach was like Bill Gillespie, for example, at Liberty. I mean, he was at Liberty through multiple coaching changes, and that changed when Coach Freeze came in, and and again turned over again when Coach Chadwell came in, and Coach Scott, is kind of like an associate head coach, if you will, as far as kind of being the second in command, the second head coach for the Flames, and he's certainly kind of running things now and will be until spring practice officially begins, and will be again in the summer when summer workouts are going on. When the team comes back in June and whatnot. But Coach Scott, he's had that relationship with Coach Chadwell for a long time now, and he knows what Coach Chadwell believes in and what he wants and what type of mission he wants and culture he wants to build. So I don't think there's going to be many skipping of beats going with Coach Chadwell not there and instead having Coach Scott there. I mean, the only thing that, the biggest setback that Liberty could have potentially have with Coach Chadwell being away would be from, just the recruiting, having guys on campus and being able to look them in their eyes and shake their hands and, quote unquote, close the deal that way, the old fashioned way. But certainly seems like Liberty was able to get in a pretty decent portal haul in spite of that.
John Manson at JC Manson, aseaofred.com, at aseaofred on Twitter are the easy ways to keep up with them. John, we'll pivot off of football, and we won't do as much on basketball, including my confirmation bias question in the event of trying to wrap up the fast lane and get out of here in a reasonable hour tonight because of the roads and being mindful of that. So we'll ask you this one instead. Liberty basketball, Saturday against Delaware. That was not the marquee team and opponent in Conference USA, but a mature type win. It wasn't offensively driven, but defense lockdown. They looked focused and ready from the get-go, and they prevented one of those big lulls where you have a double-digit lead and you let it evaporate and all of a sudden you're in a close game. Was Saturday's win rightfully called a mature win for the Flames?
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, if you're going to have a special season, you have to have some wins like that where you just grind them out against a team, in Delaware that's obviously had their share of struggles this season, and look like they're probably going to take up residence in the basement of the Conference USA. They have so far this season, and would expect that to continue going forward just due to injuries and new member into the league and things like that. So, for Liberty to come out with, a business-like approach and obviously a veteran team led by that big three. And, I think sometimes we get so wrapped up in Cade Matheny and Zach Cleveland and Colin Porter, and their veteran leadership. But, I mean, J.J. Harper and Josh Smith and even Isaiah Enan, despite him not being able to play at all so far this season. I mean, these are guys who are 5th, 6 years college basketball players. They're no longer young men. I mean, these are fully grown men and, veteran, mature. They've been around a time or two. And Josh Smith specifically, his second year in the program. So you add those to a guy like a Brett Decker, who's obviously taken a huge step forward this season in that aforementioned big three that everybody talks about. And you've got a very veteran, experienced team that has their eyes set on the ultimate goal. And that's, what Coach McKay preaches every day. And he has for his entire tenure, second tenure at least, back at Liberty, where you win every day. You focus on the small details each and every day and stacking habits, and eventually it'll pay off in the long run. And that's what this Flames basketball program is built on. And that's what we've seen so far, over this 11-game win streak. But certainly, I think we had this conversation a week ago about the Western Kentucky game, but this game Thursday night at Middle Tennessee, again, on paper, looks like maybe the most challenging game remaining on the schedule moving forward. So even if the Flames were to slip up there, you can't necessarily fault the team or the leadership or anything like that. I mean, it's nearly impossible to go unblemished in especially a 20-game conference schedule. So it'd be a big test for the Flames Saturday or Thursday night in Murfreesboro, Tennessee, especially, with the weather. And I'm sure the team, I know they were off Sunday and Monday, and hopefully they were able to get back over to the arena and practice some today just to stay connected and moving towards that game Thursday. But certainly be a big challenge and test for the Flames.
It will. The challenge is not that difficult, though, of where to go for good Liberty Flames Inside. aseaofred.com is where you can go for that. John Manson with us here in the Fast Lane. John, great to be speaking with you. Prayers for you and your family to stay sane during this inclement weather, and even more so that for those that are out on the roads in all sorts of wacky hours, they are as well. We appreciate your time. Thank you for that, and we look forward to chatting again, and hopefully things are a little bit more settled when we speak again.
Thanks, Ed. Sounds good. Hope to see you at Bel Air soon.
Yes, indeed. John Manson with us here in the Fast Lane, and that's how we wrap things up. W227BG Timberlake, WVGMA Lynchburg, WMNA Gretna Danville Southside, the VTRN Sports app, and Ask That Smart Speaker, Open VTRN Sports. Now, barely, but on to Freddie and Harry, already in progress.
He does not get the Raiders head coaching job.
ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. Progressive Commercial Insurance